You can't control what goes on in this world. That's not what you can do. But you can control how you react to it, right? That's the one thing you can do, is you can control how you react to any given situation.
Welcome to Supernormalized. Today I'm talking to Andy Wingrove. He is the host for his YouTube channel, Andy Joins Cults. And I've got to say, I've watched one of his videos last night, and what a presentation. He had been a part of the Star Magic Healing Cult in Egypt on a journey that went in an unusual direction he did not expect. And I'll get into that in the episode, but let's just say it's one of these stories that makes you go, oh my God, that's huge. Andy's a very honest guy. He's grounded. He's been through a life that we all go through, struggled with earlier youth, even though he had everything, depressed, came out of that and found his way towards spirituality and a grounded understanding of the world that he's still exploring. And he does so through his videos on Andy Joins Cults on YouTube. So this is going to be a great episode to watch. Make sure you watch all the way to the end because there's so much more in it than I expected. I mean, I didn't know where this could go. And Andy is so clear and so honest and so open about his understanding. I'm sure you'll enjoy. On with the show. Before I get into this episode, I'm going to say that one thing you need to understand as a listener is that there is an explanation of Andy's suicide experience. And if that's triggering for you, maybe switch this one off. But he has some views which are very controversial, and I may leave them in or may take them out, but it'll still give a rounded understanding of what happened to him at that time. So yeah, please be aware of that. Looking at the statistics that I have for YouTube and for my podcast apps, I have a lot of listeners and viewers that aren't yet liked and subscribed. So if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. It's free. And if you're on a podcast app, please give me 5 stars. That'd be really cool. It helps other people find these great conversations too. Thank you.
How you doing?
Sorry, mate. I've got to say that whenever I've had potential conversations that might upset those that control reality, all right, in different ways, but this is the first time they've actually literally pulled out all my drivers from the microphone. I had recorded a video just before meeting with you. Everything was fine. So I expected all the settings to be exactly the same. So I just jumped in the room and it's like, what? Drive. This is insane. So I downloaded, refreshed, and we're in here now. So welcome to Supernormalized, Andy.
Thanks very much. I'm excited to be on Supernormalized. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet you too. I watched last night your episode summarizing your experiences with some challenging people that happened about 3 months ago. That was really interesting for me because I had an encounter myself with a reptilian girl. She came into my life and basically turned it upside down, and it was really bizarre how things rolled out with her. And in the end, she actually exposed herself to me one time in a very vulnerable situation, and her mask came off. And I looked at her and I was like, oh my God, she's a beautiful lizard. Wait a minute, she's a reptilian. And it blew my mind. And I said, you're a reptilian. And she goes, no, you are. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I know what you are now. So thank you. And we didn't last long after that, I can tell you.
That makes sense. Yeah, I can see that.
So you've had a bit of a huge journey in your life, going through many processes of self-discovery. And how far do you want to go back?
Wherever you want to start. I mean, I self-discovery is definitely where it started. I ended up, if you're talking about the star magic stuff, I ended up on that tour completely by accident. Like I kind of I didn't do any research. I just wanted to go to Egypt. So my
Mm.
worldview at that point in time was very, let's go to Egypt, see Egypt like a normal person. And I Googled like spiritual tour of Egypt or something. Basically, ended up like on this thing, and I was just like, this guy is very strange. And I had a camera with me, and I thought, well, I'll interview him and see what's going on. And he seemed like there was lots of like um very suspicious behavior immediately, like as I joined that group. Like he didn't know my relationship with him, which was basically zero. I'd never looked at his YouTube. If I'd looked at his YouTube, I would never have gone. Like the guy's nuts. He's got like a song called "Spiritual Gangster," and it's him rapping about being a spiritual gangster. I really should have done a modicum of research. But if I didn't if I did that, I probably wouldn't be here talking about it. So it is what
Mm.
it is.
Yeah.
But because I wouldn't have gone on the thing. But it was it was just very strange. Like he was doing things like immediately like love bombing me, like I love you, man. And I'm like, I don't even know you. I mean, great, I love that you love me and whatever, but just like a lot of this stuff. And I just thought, right, okay, I need to like navigate this and figure out like what I'm doing here. So started interviewing him. I found him very like curious, and he was very, very keen to get me like to join his company and to like do all this, and I was like, no chance. Like I'm here, I'm interviewing you, but like there's no, this is not like a like I wasn't very interested in becoming closer to him. I found him very strange. So yes, like fast forward to like maybe the eighth day on that tour, I joined a ceremony, a mushroom ceremony on the Nile, which I kind of had hesitations about, but I mean, a lot of reservations about it, really. But I thought, well, how often am I going to get the opportunity to do this? Like,
Mm.
so I did that. And then I witnessed something, like, having done many mushroom ceremonies in my life and be very comfortable with psychedelics. I wasn't worried about it, and like I didn't have a bad time during the ceremony, but I was able to watch. So I was able to watch how they held space, like what they were doing, and yeah, like very, very clearly trying to create fear in people, trying to like talk about shadow work and all this stuff, which psilocybin is not really about. And uh, and it kind of like raised big alarm bells, like having been many, many ceremonies that have been very safe and heart opening and beautiful experiences. What was going on there was very weird, and yeah, having the group doing this like uh kind of like doing a lot of like magic out in the open, very, very like sigil magic, or kind of like chanting and working with like uh yeah, working with what I presume to be, I don't want to say I know this for a fact, but presumed to be black magic, in the sense that it was done without anybody's consent. It was certainly done without my consent, and it was done
Mm.
for their own ends. So during this piece of this moment in time, that's when like I kind of realized like, oh, like this guy had basically, as you said earlier, like kind of like um become this become something different than his human physical form, right? Like I don't know how he did that. It didn't seem plausible to me, and at the point in my life, I didn't really have any conceptual way of understanding it. It was only afterwards where I realized like, oh, like actually I'm going to go look at this and understand it and like see what it could be. And I came to the conclusion like that this person could very well be a reptilian being, and I would stand by that. My assessment, whatever I said in my documentary, I stand by whatever I said in that. But it's been a while since I recorded it. Um, and yeah, it was an intense experience, and it was very clear to me that this guy was a predator. Like he was certainly like acting upon like with predatory intentions, and I didn't have very a good impression of him overall. Um, so yeah, I got the hell out there, uh, and that really kind of started off like my like the concept of my channel, my YouTube channel, which like I was like, well, I've recorded this stuff. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe I'll just chuck it out there. Maybe some people can like interpret it and see what they think. I definitely didn't feel worried about like putting this stuff out there as somebody who like this stuff was very new to me. I didn't feel psychotic. I didn't feel like it was in any way like I'd lost my sense of reality. I felt like this was a very strange thing to have experienced, and I wanted to share that, like with the understanding that hey, I don't know what's going on. This seemed very strange. This guy's a weirdo. Like what I'm witnessing is predatory, like cult-like practices, and yeah, like maybe I can go and explore more of these things that are a little less dangerous, like things that are being called cults that
Mm.
maybe could do with a better naming of that, right? Like so I joined like a few other things which we can talk about if you want, but some things that have been really, really positive in my life and some things that have also kind of like, yeah, just help me understand this reality a little bit better. If anybody can understand it at all. I think anybody who pretends to understand what's going on in this reality is either a scoundrel because I don't
Mm.
think anybody does.
Look, I've got to say that the idea of your YouTube channel called Andy Joins Cults is fantastic because these things need to happen so people can actually see the frameworks that we're all living within. Because a lot of the world actually is very cult-like when it comes to its programming and everything. So to even go and do that is brave. I would say for one thing because I've had experience with cults in the past, rescuing a girlfriend from one at the time, and the cult leader come up to me and, like you said, love bombing me, and I'm like, I don't know you,
Yeah.
bro. I don't know why you're doing this. This is odd, and that just triggered all this stuff for me. And I did some research into trauma-based mind control, and then realized what he was doing. I was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
not very good. So
There's a
yes,
lot.
all credits to you for doing that. But I've got to say too that when you were doing the video and you were talking about how you were protecting yourself, and then also putting up a framework to say I don't agree to
Yeah.
rituals and any of these incantations and everything like that as a part of your breaking away from that situation. That's fantastic. Most people aren't even aware to do that. So, I do give you massive credit for that. And I wish more people were aware that spirits do actually have such a strong effect upon ourselves. And there are actual races which, are universal, maybe intraterrestrial or ultra-terrestrial, that actually do have nefarious sort of plans. And they are here. I've experienced them too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that was something that I learned is that that really you are as in terms of like how you interpret the world. Um, it, thinking about like the concept of protection and understanding that like you are a conscious being and that you have influence over how you interpret the world, right? Like you can, if you think everybody's out to get you, they probably are, right? Like if you think the world's a wonderful place full of beautiful, amazing people, it probably is, and it's like the conceptualization of individual perspective on reality is not really taught to us. So like basically we can be living in this entire like we're all sharing this reality, we're all sharing this world, but like there are so many different there's a big spectrum of like what that reality means to people. Like some people just think they're really lucky and then they just become really lucky or unlucky and or depressed or whatever, and it snowballs,
Mm.
right? Because you create your own reality based on the senses that you have to interpret this reality, and then you create your own truth. So like back to your point about like protecting myself, it's like understanding that like I don't allow that somebody else to hijack my consciousness. I don't allow somebody to like influence me in a way that I don't agree to. I don't allow somebody to to yeah perform incantations on me, all of these kind of things. They can't affect you if you don't agree to it, right? Like if you
Mm.
believe that you're a victim, and this is how they get you. This is how like a lot of these cults, a lot of these people will prey on people, and it's not just like weird cults. It's like like you can call our entire like mainstream culture a cult as well. It's like how they get you just by how they
Yeah.
program your mind and how they believe that like make believe that you either need them or that they've got power over you or whatever. And if you believe that is true ultimately, and it's kind of like a lot of what I chose to do at that moment was go right. Like I can't really get off this boat, but like I can also choose to like detach myself from whatever they want to to involve me in because it's not of interest to me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the awareness is actually what counts, and you're speaking
Mhm.
there to sort of like a co-creation sort of experience of reality too, and it's good to actually have your own contracts with yourself and what you'll agree to.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, yeah, yeah. I had an experience like I didn't believe in possession, for example, for myself at all. Didn't believe it because I had like a spiritual sort of bent, but also had a bit of a scientific, reasoning mind as going alongside that at the same time. And as a part of that was like, well, no, possession is just a psychological event. And that's what I believed until I was possessed. And then when I was possessed and I had two other entities inside me trying to derail every part of my life, and I could hear them planning and plotting besides my own personal inner voice, then at that point I was like, oh my God, this is actually something else that's here. And it's here inside me. And I had to exercise that. And as a part of that exorcism, it took a series of months with the help of another shaman that was very, very helpful. But at one stage, they attempted to indoctrinate me again through a dream. And I thought I was actually sitting at my computer reading something on the screen, but it turned out I was reading. I was like, what? This is an incantation. Then I woke up and went, wait a minute, no, 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 no. That's not
Wow.
happening. And I had to pull back. And as I pulled back, they got angry. I could sense their anger and caused all this drama around me and everything. And I was like, okay, no, 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 that's not going to happen again. So
Wow. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
now working from the other side. So
that will change your mind. I think a lot of these things, yeah, they exist, right? They absolutely exist, and it's also it's important to just kind of have this open mind, right? Like I was saying earlier, like anybody who purports to know anything about this reality, like I don't know, like it's a very like we can pretend it's all normal. We can pretend this like that this whole thing, this whole charade of like getting up in the morning, going to get to work and like voting for your president and all of this nonsense. Like we can pretend it's all real and we can pretend that these people are in charge and it's all like I really like on these podcasts or I've been doing a lot of these a few of these podcasts and I guess like I if I want to like share something, I think like one of the things that I want to like help, like just kind of like plant the seed out there is that like this is all a charade, right? Like we collectively now we've got the technology. We can talk to like a Chinese person can talk to a Russian person, can talk to a UK or US person, can talk to a Spanish person, right? And at some point we'll all figure out that these people that we vote for, that we pretend are our leaders, like they're all at it and they're just like dragging us along. So what we could effectively just choose to do, like really as a human race, forget about the differences between all of us and whatever, is like
yeah,
first of all go admit like none of us know what the fuck's going on. And then second of
mm,
all go like why don't we just like we're all here. Nobody most people don't want to fight. Most people don't want to put billions and trillions of dollars into like a war machine. Why don't
mm,
we just sack all the people running the show? Like just forget off you go. Go to an island, enjoy your retirement, see you later.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then we can just figure out, like, guys, you know, when you sing to water, it like creates these beautiful crystals. Or have you had the DMT experience? What the hell is that? Like, these things are like, why are these not the front page news? I have no idea, right? Like man has like near death experience in a DMT trip or whatever, meets entities and realizes that we're all God, right? Like, or something, right? Like why is that not front page news instead of like whatever's going on in the Middle East and stuff because we can stop that like very very quickly but back to the concept of like indoctrination and like and hypnotism like we're all hypnotized to believe like oh no this is actually going on and this is nothing to do with us, and I hope our president can solve it. Our president, whoever your president is the cause of it. We need to like they're the terrorists. Our government are the terrorists, and we need to basically get rid of them, and then figure out what we can do as a human race. That's like my belief is like if we can all figure that out, if just going right, let's start again. Like we've got this far, that's brilliant. We've all got Apple
Yeah.
Macs. Now what actually can we do to like solve world hunger and figure out like what's going on in this world and figure out what this reality could be? Like what it actually could be because we're in control of that. So a lot of these entities talking about possession, talking about all of these, like talking about channeling, talking about all this other stuff that's going on that's fucking super like crazy and spooky and weird and cool. Like there's all of this stuff, mad stuff going on in the world and nobody's got any clue about what's going on. So why don't we just like take a pause, stop killing each other, fighting, and just like and start going right? What the hell's going on? Really? Like
Mm.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Like that's my real belief is that we need to like we're kept in this loop of like trauma and fear and like and believing that the people we vote for have any like are good benevolent beings. They're not. They're possessed in a different way. They're possessed by something like some kind of like energy that's then being passed on to us and we believe it.
All right. Well, I agree with you with the your greater reset. It actually makes a lot of sense to me, and
Like sack them all
I'm
off.
on board. I'm on
Yeah,
board.
thanks.
That would be exposing. We'll just see how that goes. But it does seem like we're actually leaning more into that sort of thing over time. Most common people now are starting to even talk about things that I've known for, you know, for my whole life when it comes to an understanding of how things work. So, it does seem that that's changing. I believe
It's
it's changing.
polarity, right? Like the
Yeah, it
pendulum can't
swings.
swing. Like if it swings
Yeah.
all the way to that way, it's got to
Yep.
swing back. So
Yeah.
I think that's what we're in the middle of, and that shift
Mm.
is happening like
Yeah.
in many ways across the world. So I really do think it is happening. And I hope it doesn't take like a big event for people to be like, "Oh, what are we doing?" Like that would suck. Like I
Mm.
feel like that's could be where it's leading, and I hope it doesn't. But
Yeah, well,
um,
we've had that. I think we've already had the one of the biggest ones, which was 2020 and all that craziness.
yeah, I mean that's crazy.
Yeah. Do you mind if we circle back to your early life and go through some of that story? Because I found that really fascinating as well.
Sure. Like, so, I mean, depends where you want. Like, so I was very much asleep for a long time, for the longest time, actually. I mean, I had a good job. I had I was relatively smart, right? But like asleep as hell. And that was like the effectiveness of like not really knowing what's going on. Like, my understanding of this reality is, or at least in the Western reality, is they try and like shuffle you through to like death really fast, right? You go to school, don't ask questions. Here's the thing. Here's what we like. Learn what we tell you. You go to university, okay, don't ask questions, get your degree or whatever. You get a job, and then you got rent to pay, and then you're like, before you know it, you're getting up every day and like, oh wow, I've got a kid now or whatever you've got, like so I was in that cycle of just being like shuffled through life of like, okay, I've got a job now, like this is what I'm meant to do, right? And I kind of lost any connection to spirituality around about the age of like 12. I grew up Catholic and I felt like very much
Mm.
like um, antagonized by that religion. I felt like it was an antagonistic religion. The entire purpose of Catholicism is actually so that people don't realize who they are, what they are, right? Like in a sense, right? Like it's to completely separate you from God, right? Like separate you from the idea that there's a big old man in the sky or whatever. Like there's something separate to you that you
Mm.
exist and must worship, right? Like and completely eradicates the concept that you are what you should worship and you ought to understand that we are collectively God, right? Like everything is God. There's no such thing as anything that's not. So like it separates you from that idea, like creates the concept of good and evil, judgment, bad and good, all of these things. And I was like, none of it made sense. It was just like this is nonsense. As like a 12-year-old, I was like, so much is being done in religion's name. So I kind of like fully lost any concept of spirituality for 18 years, right? So it wasn't until I was 30. And I read probably the most spiritual book I've ever read, which is not a spiritual book actually at all. But at this point in my life, like I'd been suffering like I had like depression for most of my entire teens and twenties, right? Like teens, twenties, super depressed because I had this like oppressive world on me, and I didn't feel like I had any control. I just had to do what everybody else told me to do. Get a job, go to university, blah blah blah, do it, pay your bills. And I didn't, and none of it made sense to me, right? Really, really, none of it made sense to me. So I was depressed for a good long while, not like overtly, but like internally, very depressed. I was very functional. I could get up and go to work and stuff like that. And I never trusted pharmaceutical companies. So it left me at this point of my life where I turned 30 and I just moved back from Singapore, and I looked in this mirror. I was at a barber shop and they were cutting my hair, and like I was really, really, really big at that point, maybe like double the size I am now. And I was smoking, I was drinking, and I looked in the mirror and I was just like, "You need to sort yourself out, pal." And I read, like I said, one of the most spiritual books I've ever read is, and I've read a lot of actual spiritual books since, was The Easy Way to Stop Smoking. And why was that a spiritual book? Well, one of the things was like it helped me understand like my connection to this reality in a way that that was so alien to me at the time. And basically, in a nutshell, the book like helps you stop smoking. Like you can read the book, you can smoke while you read the book. It helps you stop smoking by changing a few key assumptions about what makes it hard to stop smoking. So the pharmaceutical companies, the doctor industry, like the general public will tell you it's really hard to stop smoking, right? Because there's an economy around it, right? And then there's economy around getting you to stop smoking. But this book just actually goes, you know what? Like if you start with a feeling of elation, like imagine yourself as a non-smoker, how will that feel? And like know that like you're in full control of your reality, then you don't need to listen to the people who tell you it's hard. You can just truly believe it's easy. And I never smoked a cigarette since, right? So that's been 10 years ago. And that completely changed my understanding of reality, because that wasn't the reality I'd been led to believe. I believed that reality was pretty much fixed, right? Like whatever people were saying, if people say it's hard to stop smoking, I guess it must be hard to stop smoking. But actually, if you believe it's easy, then you can do that. And I did that with alcohol, stopped drinking alcohol, stopped gambling at the time, and just all of these things. So that led me to free up my time. I started doing improv. I started like meditating. That was a huge, huge change in my life, a massive shift in my life, which I still maintain. And from there, yeah, like I was able to start my own company. I started my own like consultancy, and just understanding really like we have this like we have this amazing ability to create. Like as beings, that is one thing we all share, is like the ability to like turn an idea into something. At some point you decided to create a podcast, and here we are, we're talking about weird shit, and it's great, right? Like that's what we're doing. And you had that idea, and you brought it from nothing into reality, and that's how this reality is shaped, right? Bringing an idea into this physical realm, and really starting to understand over time my ability to manifest the reality I want to create, right? Like, which is a beautiful thing, and hone that and develop it, and use that. And it all started with that book of like how the easy way to stop smoking. And then from there, like from meditation, from starting my own business, from creating a life that I wanted, I really started diving into like more esoteric realms of like teachers that are incredibly impactful to me. Like starting off with like people like Alan Watts and Osho and a few other people, just who really like challenged my like understanding of what reality was. And through that got very interested in tantra, got very interested in like I was practicing breath work for a while, like healing things and doing inner child work. And yeah, like my spiritual journey has been very much accelerated in the last 5 years, particularly after I started doing tantra, practicing tantra and learning about that, because this stuff is wild, right? Like stuff is unbelievably like I mean, you can pick any path, right? It doesn't need to be tantra, it can be yoga, it can be Kabbalah, it can be whatever, right? Like it can be like I don't know, Kashmir Shaivism, it can be fucking like there's so many ancient modalities to help like actually find your place in this world. Like pick one, right? They all get to the same point, right? They all get to it's the same mountain, different paths up the mountain. And Tantra for me is particularly appealing because it's not like it's not a aesthetic path, right? You don't need to go into a cave in the mountains and live there with nothing. Like you can Tantra's about experiencing life and really like connecting with this reality in a conscious way. So uh, that's my spiritual story in a nutshell. I still feel like a novice. I still feel like I've got a lot to learn and a lot to grow and a lot to do. And but I feel like a big part of my growth has been like diving into yoga and tantra and spiritual teachings as well. So that's
Mm.
definitely the path I'm on at the moment.
It's a good path, definitely, because it helps you to be grounded, but also connected to spirit at the same time.
Mm, mm.
So you did mention that you killed yourself successfully. Do you want to talk about that?
Yep. So when I was about
So what happened?
28, uh, like I said, I was super depressed, and this is like yeah, so about 2 years before I read this book, right? So like and like I said, it was just a random book. It was like it got me on a path of going, huh, I can create the reality I want. I can choose to do that, right? Like, that's the way I am. But yeah, like 2 years before that, I was living in London and I was just depressed. I hated life. I was getting up. I had a great job. I had an awesome job with an awesome people working in an awesome place, and like I felt devoid of felt like life was devoid of meaning. I really wasn't in a happy place. But at the same time, like I said, functional and all the rest of it. But like my life mostly consisted of like getting up, going to work, being like kind of miserable in work and not feeling fulfilled and like feeling like I was chasing the next promotion or bullshit fucking pay rise or whatever, like feeling very much like a beggar in this world. Like, oh, give me the promotion that'll make me happy. Give me the money, like all of this stuff. And like my weekends consisted mostly of like drinking or smoking weed and gambling and like maybe play video games. So it was a very desolate, like monotonous life full of like dopamine hits of just like a life that quite honestly most people live, right? Actually at this moment in
Mm.
time with
Yeah.
TikTok and whatever. So I was living that life and I wasn't feeling fulfilled and I made a very good few attempts. I can give you an exact breakdown of what happened and how it happened and like what actually occurred. But basically, a being came to me. What was this being? I don't know. Was it myself? Maybe. Was it an angel? Maybe. Was it like it was something, right? It was like a being that was like talking to me
Mm.
and said to me, not really in English, like in some language that I seem to understand. It wasn't like it wasn't like a different language. It was just like an intuitive knowing of what was transpiring between us. But I can't explain it more than that. This being came to me and was like, look, this is all paraphrased, but like this is the gist of the thing. Nobody's mad. And honestly, like, and you do not need to go back. Nothing will make you go back. You do not need to. But then they said, if you do, I promise you, it gets so much better. and it's whatever happened, I made the decision to go back, and then the next thing I was being woken up by my flatmate. And then anyway, I went down, had a cigarette with my flatmate, and my flatmate didn't know what had gone on, but we didn't actually like talk about it. Like we just had a cigarette, and then I went to bed. And yeah, like I don't know what happened. I don't know how to explain that, but that's the gist of it. And honestly, things didn't get better for the next 2 years. They didn't. I was like that fucking thing that being lied to me. I was like, yeah, like things just did not get better. But having said that, over the last 10 years, I've got much better for me, right? Like I've not had depression in 10 years, right? I've not had any of these thoughts or any of these things happen in like 10 years. As soon as I started meditating, getting off of like the drugs, getting off of like these types of things, and bringing more and more space into my life for joy and gratitude and all of these things, like it's impossible to be depressed at that point, like once you start
Yeah.
really doing that work.
Yeah, you'll fill it up with the goodness, and then the
Yeah.
darkness stays away. I can understand that. I've got a resonant with you there when it comes to the early life with the difficulties and stuff, and depression myself. I had really dark sort of depression phases, and I did attempt a few times myself, but I I wasn't successful. And yeah, so it's good that you discovered that path from that point, even though it didn't happen instantly, and you probably felt a little tricked uh, to come back
I
to
didn't
Earth.
necessarily feel tricked. I felt like I didn't understand, right? It wasn't a feeling of being tricked. It was just a feeling of like maybe I imagined it. Maybe that like didn't happen. Like
Yeah, right.
it
Mm,
was more like the doubting the idea that that happened at all, rather than feeling
mm,
tricked by the entity. Because I don't believe I had an undeniable experience. I know I had that experience, and I remember it, but then it's also like full of vagaries and full of 12 years like
a
distance between
time.
that moment and
Yeah,
now. So
yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you what happened, and it definitely wasn't undeniable. But there definitely was that remembrance in the next morning of like, I chose this, I chose to come back. So whatever I do, like
Mm.
there's not really an option. Like the concept of like ever trying that again, like has never even occurred to me. Um, like since like yeah, for about 10 years, purely because like life did start incrementally getting better, and like what I feel like most people don't know in this world is like, as I alluded to earlier, right? Like if you believe something, it's true, right? If you believe you're lucky, it's true. If you believe you're depressed, it's true. So it's like unwinding some of those programs is so important, right? Like if you've got a depression or whatever, like getting that, like that becomes like a big snowball. It just gets bigger and bigger every day. You create more thoughts that reinforce the belief, and the belief becomes reality, and that becomes your reality. So you're depressed and you're lost and whatever. But like what I found was like you can like melt that snowball and start another snowball, right? That snowball can just be of joy, and like joy for life. Like nothing could take that away from me, of just being like absolutely in awe of this this experience we get to have as humans. And I still have that, like I still have that in every moment of every day. And then it's just like magnified when I look up at the stars, or I look at the sun, or I look at the moon, or I look at the ground, or I look at the fact, the landscape, or whatever I'm being or whatever I'm doing. Like I'm in full awe of this mad life that I get to live, and that we all get to live. And to me, this is the biggest danger that's been created in our Western culture, but in our culture globally as well, is that that awe has been removed from most people's lives. It's just like most people are just like, the awe is not there, the wonder is not there, it's gone. And
Yeah.
that was certainly my experience of growing up until I was about 30.
Well, I think when we're all young and freshly born and walking around looking at everything with fresh eyes, that wonder is there, but it gets stolen by reality in some way and covered up with conditioning and social constructs and social expectations. And and it sounds like you've found a great way to escape, which is becoming mindful of how beautiful everything really is.
Yeah, it's mad. It's really mad, and
Mm,
it never stops, and like the awe never stops. And once you can get to this point in your life, it like, I don't know, I don't like talking about it too much at this point, because I've reached the stage of my life where like my life is just a unbelievable journey of wonder and synchronicity, and strange coincidences and things that just keep happening and taking me to like a place, like they just things keep getting better and better, and things keep getting like more interesting and more like the things that I'm bringing in and the things that I'm wanting to bring more of into my life just keep happening. So it's a beautiful thing, and it's a beautiful thing to experience. And yeah, like if I had like some goal in mind in the next, like if I could have in the next 10 years, would just be to maybe just talk about this stuff a bit more and a bit more like give it a bit more breathing room, because I understand that there's so many people are lost and depressed and finding life very difficult, and I found a magic key to like change that. It doesn't happen overnight, but like it certainly has unlocked a huge amount of abundance and beauty in my life that I cannot explain and I don't dare to explain. I'm just eternally grateful. So
Mm.
it
Got,
came from changing that belief.
do you have any pro tips for people that are going through the darkness themselves and need a little bit of light? Is there anything small that they can start with?
I think darkness is necessary. I think like ultimately in some way it like things can't just be like love and light, right? Like I said earlier about polarity or the pendulum. I think the the biggest trouble that people don't really realize is that whatever darkness they're going through, whatever pain they're going through, whatever negative feelings or perceptually negative feelings that they may experience are there to teach them something, right? Like it's there to teach. So you're going to keep experiencing that until you're open to learning, right? Until you're open to listening to whatever that is there to teach you. And until you can do that, then like you're going to keep re-experiencing it. There's so many patterns in my life that I keep re-experiencing. I'm not immune to it myself, right? Like I don't see it as darkness, but I see certain things in my life, patterns emerging, even at this point in my life, having done a lot of work and I've done a lot of spiritual exploration and all of this kind of stuff. Like things would just keep happening until you listen, until you're like, okay, what's going on here? Is this how I want to live my life? Do I want to feel this way? A good example being somebody sent me a pissy email yesterday and like 2 days ago, right? And like I read it and like I could feel myself like getting angry about it. Oh, she didn't listen to this thing, whatever. And this is, yeah, so like talking about small tips, it's like being aware, noticing, okay, like I like that person is not making me angry. I'm making me angry, right? Like, so I am choosing to interpret this interaction in a way that's causing anger in me. I could choose many other emotions, right? I could choose, once I become conscious of the anger or that frustration, to bring some levity into the situation, to bring some peace into the situation, to not be bothered by it, right? Like there's so many choices that you can make, and it's until you realize that you're in full control of the choices and of how you can't, okay, unless you're some amazing mystic, right? And even then, you can't control what goes on in this world. That's not what you can do. But you can control how you react to it, right? That's the one thing you can do, is you can control how you react to any given situation. So that does bring up the idea that, like, yeah, to your point, like giving any advice, I don't like to give any advice because it assumes that I know what I'm doing when I've got no clue what I'm doing. So first of all, always caveat that with, don't listen to me. I don't have any fucking clue what's going on. But second of all, like if you do care to understand like my own perception of things, it's like I do believe that you have the control, or you do have the ability to control how you choose to react to any given situation, whatever that situation is your choice, and that's Zen, right? Like that's the whole philosophy of Zen, right? Like there's no such thing as good or bad. It's just it like the thing that you thought was bad 2 years ago might have brought you to something amazing like 2 years later, and that thing might bring you to something again which is not so good. but it's just a stance of life that you can exist in, and ultimately comes down to being aware of that, right? So if you can bring awareness into your daily life, whether that's meditation, whether that's just becoming the witness of like watching what's going on, right? Watching from a detached perspective, right? Like you're not your personality, you're not your body, you're an infinite being, right? Like you're an infinite being that's watching this participating and being this moment, right? Because this moment is all that exists, right? Like so if you can bring that awareness in, it will at some point give you the uncomfortable truth that you are creating that and nobody else is, right? If you're upset, if you're miserable, if you're depressed, you're creating it. And that can go one of two ways. It can be very difficult for people to hear and you can push that away, but it's a truth. And if you open up to that truth and take the other path, which is, well, if I'm creating it, what else could I create and how could I create a different scenario and own that concept that you are creating your own reality, then it can start to shift your how you choose to react to any given situation. But like I said, I'm not the best person to talk about this because somebody sent me an email yesterday and I was getting super angry. So like I'm not exactly the practicer of what I'm preaching here.
I'm still going to call you Saint Andy anyway, because you're doing your best, and that's what counts. So, Andy, your YouTube channel, Andy Joins Cults, you've got a couple of playlists up there which people can go through and see your journeys into these cults. What do you have any plans for the next one that you're going to be pursuing?
Yeah. So I've spent the last 7 months joining cults, so I've got a lot to edit. So the first few that are up there at the moment of time of release are Star Magic Healing, weird ass reptilian cult that I joined in Egypt and started the whole thing off. Then I did Ista, which is like a sexual shamanic thing, like kind of like Tantra, but if you ask me, a little bit darker and a little bit weirder, and definitely some culty vibes, definitely some weird shit going on. I had a great time. It was an interesting experience for me. Uh, Great bunch of people. Like there's certainly culty vibes there. There's certainly things that are aspects of cult, but I don't take the Reddit approach to cults, right? Like I don't believe that everything that's called a cult is a bad thing. I think like that word is being like charged in a way that
Yeah.
like that creates a negative reaction, which is why I called my channel Andy Joins Cults. So like, yeah, like the jury's out on this stuff. Like, the videos are out. You can make up your own mind. I had a good time. Honestly, I'll bring in something that I'm not really spoken about. To be honest, I had another ISTA booked at this very moment. I was going to be in Georgia to go to another one, and I cancelled it. I wasn't, and like I decided it wasn't for me, and yeah, like honestly, I don't think I want to explore much more of that journey with this stuff. Maybe I will another day, but there's like with any good upstanding cult, there's levels that you need to do, and like these things are. I don't know. I need to get to the point where the channel is like I can make it sustainable, and I'm getting there. Like it's a journey, not a destination. But yeah, like I definitely have some reservations on it after some reflection. But yeah, that was the last one that was out. I did Medicine Festival, which just got released, and then I also did a upcoming one on this tattoo that I got. I got a whole bunch of tattoos done as like as part of a experience with a cult, as which is interesting. And then beyond that, yeah, I've joined some crazy ass things in the last few months, and I'm looking forward to releasing them. My highlight over the last 6 months was I went to a Joe Dispenza retreat, and that's been called quite cult-like, and
Oh,
I had the best time of my life. I love that man.
yeah, I'd love to go to one of his.
Amazing. The guy is amazing. The guy is the real deal. Like I personally, I left that thing being like, I'm so glad to share a reality that Joe Dispenza also exists in. Like thinking about the man, like could bring me to tears. And I don't know, like, is it cult like? What he's doing is beyond meditation. He's doing something. He's doing like what he's doing is like combining, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, this is not how he would position it, but like he's combining like deep esoteric knowledge, deep spirituality, ceremonial magic, effectively, and science. And he's combining it all in a way that's like helping people, helping the world, and helping like people imagine a different reality than we've got. And he does it all with a personality that's just, you just want to hug him. Like the guy's amazing. He's just so intelligent, but so humble and so like, yeah. So that was like my absolute highlight, and I'll be releasing that probably by like July. So
Oh, I look forward to that one. Yeah, yeah, no, I really like Joe Dispenza. I call him Joy Dispenza myself because of the books that I've read and how it changed me as well and helped me as well. Did some of his meditations and like, wow, fix things.
yeah, I
Just
did him as
fixes
a kid.
things.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can see you as a groundbreaker, and I really appreciate the work you're doing. It's just totally cool. You know, watching that video last night, your summary of the Star Magic cult, and that was really cool because my wife and I have had a lot of experiences with entities and all sorts of things, and it was just like, oh wow, this guy knows. He knows exactly what's going on.
I mean, you say that I know nothing. Like I don't know what's going on. So it's kind of like, but I was able to, I was able to, yeah, figure out like how to express it in a way that made sense for me. But yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, and it took me a while to release that video because it wasn't intentional. Like, I had no clue, truly no clue what I was getting into.
Yeah, right.
And there was like a piece of me that was like felt a bit like I don't really want to invite that guy Jerry into my life, right? Like I released the video, like what can he do? Like I thought about it, was like, can he sue me? Like imagine going to court about being called a reptilian, that would be hilarious. Like it was like, what can he do? Like what can he actually do to me? And I couldn't see a reason not to release it. And I've had some good
Yeah,
feedback from people who've watched it, like who've had interactions with him, and like some of it's been very positive, some of it's been a bit suspicious, but overall,
mm,
I feel like a net positive that I released it.
yeah. I've got to ask a question though. You said that one of your friends was still there and in the video, and
Mm.
you were reaching out to her to see how she was going. Did she okay, and did everything work out?
It's fine, but she left the next day after I recorded
Oh, good.
that. So she was like, she messaged me and was like I like Andy, I'm not feeling safe here, and I'm like, what should I do? And I just said, get the fuck out there. And she got out the next day, and it
Oh,
was all
good.
good. But yeah, like very very clearly there was it wasn't like covert. This is the thing, like it was like super open nefarious stuff. Like it felt predatory. It felt willful and intentional and not like good vibes. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, like that's just the way things are. I think
yeah,
like I think like I tend to look at it from the macro perspective, right? Like we're as humans here and we're living our lives as humans. But like to a pig or to a cow who we just butcher and murder like all the time, like we're no better than like any reptilian entity that wants to feed on our feed on our fear, feed on our lush, feed on our like negative feelings, right? Like there's actually a very good, reasonable cause for me to be like, you know what? Like they have just as much like right and almost need for existence as we do, and like for us to like presume that they're the bad guys, even if like actually they're not running about killing us. Like they might be feeding off energy, they might be creating that energy, they might be cultivating that amongst us. But like that's like how can we, until we take a mirror and look at ourselves as like beings that are doing that same thing. If you like if you, I don't know, like eat a chicken or something like that, right? Like there's something there which we're not addressing, that like this whole entire reality contains so much stuff, right? And we're not innocent in that, as humans, and how we treat other beings and how we treat this planet. and to moan about being treated in a negative light, in a negative way by beings who are manipulating us is kind of hypocritical in some ways. So it's not like I look at it like I'm afraid of reptilians or I'm afraid of any beings who have negative intentions, because actually, if you think about it, us being uh, incarnated as humans, like that's stuff we need to look at and deal with as ourselves. So it is just ourselves. It's just another version of ourselves. So um yeah, like that's my perspective on it. I don't whilst I don't wish more experiences with like somebody like Jerry, it was eye opening and it helped me, yeah, like it helped me explore things. I'd never read a David Icke book before I went on that thing, and I ended up like reading like five of his books and being very interested in this stuff, but also cautionary in the sense that like I and you can keep all this in if it's interesting, by the way. I know you're still recording, so but like I think I'd never read a David Icke book until that, and yeah, like his books are fascinating, but there's also I would also tread with caution there in the sense that like what you consume, the media you consume, the type of content you consume, you'll just see more of that in your reality, right? So if you want to read about lizards, if you want to like or reptilians, if you want to like bring more and more of that into your consciousness, there's a likelihood that you will bring more of that into your reality. So there's a balance to be found there. Like if you want to bring more of that into your reality, then do you want to
Mm.
read more about it? Because quite honestly, I think I could recommend 100 other books that would be more enriching than that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Like,
It's not necessary really, and
no
it's better to focus on the the positives and the expansion of what
consciousness.
would you call it, like a connection to spirit.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just thinking back to that, how that Jerry exposed himself to you. Obviously, you never had an experience of actually seeing that
Like
before.
never, never,
Did
never.
you believe that was even possible before that moment?
No, no. And I
No.
barely believed it was possible as I was doing the documentary, but I know what I saw, I know what I experienced, and I know that it was done in a way that was. I think it was like I think I don't know. I don't like to project, right? I don't know. I don't like to tell you that I know what Jerry was thinking or I know his intentions because I don't. But like it didn't feel like he was doing it to scare me. It almost felt like he was revealing it in a way that was like I am more powerful than you, right? Like that was the vibe I got. But like you can have a bit of this power if you're interested, right? Like it's here for you and blah blah blah. But I'm not a power seeker, right? Like it's not like in my realm of interest to be to 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 be falling for that, right? That's a trap immediately. Like he kind of just assumed maybe too much about me in order to show me that. Um, because yeah, it was very clear that was like I've had Rappy before and stuff like that, but that wasn't just your average
Yeah, never
Rappy.
does that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like that was some very, very clearly designed um to 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 help me see something or to show me something
Mm.
that was perhaps hidden. But I don't know. Like I know what I shared on the documentary, and I know how I integrate the experience now, but I still couldn't tell you for sure that that's exactly what I saw, that I know his intentions, that what I saw was real. I'd also had like a gram and a half or 2 grams of mushrooms, probably closer to a gram and a half, but like that in itself, like that in itself, regardless of how many mushroom trips I've had, which is many, 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 and none of them have been anything like that, regardless of how many psychedelics I've ever used, regardless of that, and regardless of having never had an experience even close to that, it still kind of will take the uh credibility out of my story for some people, and that's okay. Like I can't do anything about that. All I can do is like, this is what happened, this is my experience. If you think it's credible, great. If you don't, then I'm not looking to be like, believe me, this happened, because
Yeah, no, it's a matter of fact for you.
it's a matter of experience for me. It's a matter of my
Mm.
own perception of reality
Yeah,
for me. There, I don't
yeah.
believe in fact or truth. I actually believe
Okay.
the concept of truth is like, I don't believe that we have a conception of truth, right? Like, as soon as you put language to something, it's not true, it's perception, right? So um I don't, like, is it my truth that in this body, in this reality time space existence, that I experience something that I choose to interpret as a reptilian encounter? Yeah, maybe, but like, it's not like I'm not going to die on that hill. Like, if it's not, then it's not, and if it is, then it is. Um, and it's not really up to me to make that decision. If people want to choose to believe me, then that's great. But if they don't, then that's also great. Like, I'm not interested in pushing my version of the truth, because that's just my version of the truth. All I can do is share my experience and allow people to interpret that and come to some shared understanding of what truth is. Do I believe reptilians exist? Probably, yeah. Do I believe I saw one? Probably, yeah. But do I believe other people need to believe me? No, absolutely not. Like, in fact, please don't believe me. Please, like, go out and figure out if this is actually reality or not for you, because that'll give you a better indication of, or a better understanding of your interaction with this reality than I could ever give anybody.
Yeah,
If that
yeah.
makes sense. I just don't like to.
It does. Yeah, no, that makes great sense. Yeah, it's like have your experience because your experience is yours.
Exactly. It's the only one you're going to get. So,
Excellent. Thank you so much, Andy.
my pleasure.
I look forward to seeing what comes out next, and I'm going to go through all of your YouTube channel. It's going to be great. I know it is because the way you present is so honest and clear.
Thanks very much. I've worked hard on that. So
Yeah.
for some reason I've got that ability. But yeah, I appreciate that. It's very much like, I'm not Mr. YouTube. I'm not out here making, like, trying to be like scandalous or whatever. But I feel like I'm just gonna be I can only be myself. I can't be somebody. I can't be like, I'm not interested in the algorithm. I'm not interested in being whatever. I'm just like, if I can be myself and share these experiences, then great.
Okay. All right.
My pleasure.
Okay. Thank you very much again. And yeah, I'll catch up with you again probably in about a year, and we'll see where we're up to and what else has
Wonderful.
happened. That'd be really cool. So, Andy, we've come to the end of the podcast, and where would you like to point people to find out more about you?
If you Google Andy Joins Cults, that's my name on all the stuff, on the TikTok, on the Instagram, on the YouTube. So that'll be where. I do it also on Spotify. I prefer to call what I'm doing like podumentaries, so it means that I can justify putting it up on Spotify, because, like, I think there's an element to what Spotify are doing, particularly in the podcast and like vlog like expansion, that's a bit less overwhelming than YouTube. YouTube just has everything, whereas, like, I'm kind of like structuring like a documentary, but like a podcast of a documentary. So yeah, like, I prefer people, if you have Spotify, to go there, because it's just like there's a lot less noise on Spotify. YouTube, to me, as a user and as uh, I guess, a creator, there's just a lot of, like, just too much noise. It's just everything, and I don't believe that the algorithm will ever promote this type of content. So, like, that would probably be like where I um maybe it will, but I'm not getting a lot of, like, feeling of like consistency on YouTube. Some of my YouTube videos have like got 10,000 views, and like some of them have got like 23, and like ones that were released afterwards. So there's not, like, I'm not seeing like a sensible trajectory on how my videos are promoted on YouTube. So who knows? But
Yeah.
YouTube,
Yeah.
Spotify, Instagram, TikTok. I don't
Okay.
use X or anything, but Andy Joins
All right.
Cults.
Okay. I'll put those links down in the show notes, and I'll thank you so much for coming on and sharing so openly of your experiences and your understanding and perspective on the world. And all power to you, Andy. You're exposing the really interesting things.
Very much. So are you.
Yeah.
I'm really keen to, like, go through some of the other super normalized podcasts. I think like you're also doing amazing work, and like what you're talking about is super interesting, and yeah, like the types of content you're bringing up is like really good, and you do it in a fun way, and like almost tongue in cheek as well. So there's like a really good like balance there between yeah, like what people were talking about and how you give space for that. So yeah, like I'm gonna keep listening to you. So really great to meet you as well.
Yeah, good to meet you too. Thank you so much. I'll just say goodbye to listeners. I don't know what to say. That was totally amazing. Thank you, Andy, for coming on the show. I appreciate it fully. Now, look, if you've enjoyed today's show, make sure you like and subscribe, and also reach out to Andy and go onto his YouTube. Andy Joins Cults, one word. They should find it, or even just search Andy Joins Cults anywhere on the internet, and you'll find Andy. And watch. It's amazing. He's a really good presenter, and the clarity in his understanding, in his presentation, and the honesty and groundedness comes through so clearly. As you even heard in this episode, he's doing some great work here. So thank you so much for listening. Until next episode, it's bye for now.